wanted, in the first place, to thank the Media Center for hosting this conference. We are very appreciative of the hospitality of the Media Center. I thank you for accepting the invitation and for coming here in such a big number. It is always for me a pleasure to meet with you, the representatives of the journalist community of Armenia, and as you know, I always try to be as open as possible. I hope I will not let you down also this time. The topic of our meeting, the conference today, is the presentation of the new global strategy of the European Union. As you know from the news agencies, the new global strategy of the European Union was presented by the High Representative, the Vice President of the European Commission, Federica Mogherini, last week. It is a very significant document. It is a document which outlines the vision of the world that the European Union is cherishing and the lines of action that the European Union as a global actor is planning to undertake. Why the new strategy? The answer is very simple, because the world has changed significantly. There are some very important challenges, in particular security threats in the immediate neighborhood of the European Union, which are affecting the lives of Europeans, which are influencing the way Europe thinks about the world and the problems that are affecting the world. The strategy speaks about these new threats and new risks and new challenges, but it also speaks about new opportunities. These opportunities are helping many people in the world to come out from poverty. These new opportunities enable states and individuals to look for new objectives, to undertake new lines of actions to deal with threats, problems, challenges. The European Union, through this strategy, wants to send a very simple message. Europe wants to be stronger. Europe wants to be seen as a more active player, security provider in world affairs. So this strategy is about the aspiration of the European Union to be stronger. This stronger role of the European Union is something that the citizens of Europe deserve. The citizens of Europe want the European Union to bring the added value to the role of national governments, national states, and it is something that the world expects from the European Union. The world wants the European Union to contribute more and to contribute better to the governance of the world affairs. I think in many countries of the world, this expectation that the European Union should contribute more is visible, and I think also in South Caucasus, also in Armenia. All of us that the recent months have brought new dynamic into the process of the settlement of the conflict in and around Nagorno-Karabakh. The Vienna summit opened, in a way, a new chapter in the efforts to find a fair and comprehensive solution to the problem. Quite recently, we have witnessed a new important summit in St. Petersburg, and this process continues. The European Union is fully supporting the efforts undertaken within this framework. The leading role is played by the co-chairs of the Minsk Group, and the European Union is fully behind these efforts. Quite soon, even I could say tomorrow, the European Union Special Representative for South Caucasus will be coming to Yerevan. He will have meetings with the President of Armenia, the Foreign Minister, with other officials. And his visit is another testimony that the European Union wants to be seen as a contributing partner. The European Union wants to be supportive of these peace efforts. They are now in a very delicate stage. Probably it is not prudent to speak too much about these efforts, because this period requires a lot of quiet diplomacy, requires a lot of very confidential approaches. So I would presume that it's not time for strong public diplomacy. Nevertheless, as far as the European Union is concerned, we continue our support to the efforts aimed at bringing a solution to the process. And I think that the agreements reached in the understandings reached at the Vienna summit should be implemented, because they now constitute the way to bring a change, a good change, a positive change into the conflict resolution dynamic. Is now underway. This reflection takes place in the United Kingdom itself, in the European capitals, as well as in the seat of the European institutions. You are aware of the European Council deliberations last week, where the implications of the referendum in Britain was put prominently on the agenda. You know about the statements made by different leaders of the European countries, and you know about the statements made by the high officials of the European Union. There was a statement issued by the President of the European Council, President of the European Commission, President of the European Parliament, and the Dutch presidency of the Council. There were other statements made by the European Union, including by my immediate boss, the High Representative, Vice President. So you know the general political context and the general direction in which the thinking in Europe is going about it. What I wanted to say from my perspective as an ambassador representing the European Union in Armenia, this vote has not changed anything about our commitment in Armenia, our commitment to the region. There are no implications for our policies. There are no implications for our bilateral dialogue on the framework agreement, on other important issues which are coming up, like the partnership priorities or discussions on the next single support framework, which will define the projects, the programs which would make our cooperative assistance more meaningful here in Armenia. So, to Armenians, I wanted to say that what happened in Britain is, of course, something very serious, and Europe will be dealing with that in a most serious way. But for our bilateral agenda, for our actions, our activities, there are no direct and even indirect implications. I said many months ago, at our meetings and at other public speeches. I believe the next national elections are crucial for the future of this country. And therefore, we supported very much the effort to prepare the next elections based on an inclusive process. And I'm very glad to note that this agreement between the government and the opposition parties on the technological aspect of the next elections reflects the idea of an inclusive process. I was probably one of the first to congratulate both the government representatives and the opposition representatives for reaching the deal. The agreement, of course, doesn't solve all possible issues, and we know that very serious and deep disagreements exist between the governing coalition and the opposition parties and civil society concerning the electoral code and the next elections. That's quite obvious. Still, I wanted to say that the agreement reached between the government and the opposition has been regarded widely outside Armenia as a historic deal. It was an example of overcoming very deep and very sharp political differences for the sake of something bigger, the future of the country, fair elections. So the effort has been very commendable. I understand now the National Assembly passed the necessary laws. Still, the implementation of the deal is provisional. I hope that the financial side of the issue is solved in a constructive way. What I wanted to say is that the European Union is ready to offer a significant support to the implementation of this agreement. And I think there are also a number of states willing to support in financial terms the implementation of the deal. And I think that the support to the deal among the international community is very solid. So, as you know, I am an optimist by nature. I hope that the deal will be implemented. I know that it's very challenging, it's very tough, not only for financial reasons, but also from the point of view of organization. It requires really a very hard work, a big dedication. But I'm an optimist because I think that the implementation of this deal would make a big change, good change for Armenia. And I think that Armenia in the long term would profit a lot.